The concerns that we have on restraint and seclusion, the biggest concerns are that it's being misused and abused.
Stephanie and Craig Merrill are parents to two twin 8-year-old boys with autism.
Nope, look at that, it's hard to see.
Since learning about the use of seclusion in Utah schools last year, they've become vocal opponents against it.
Lemons.
Even starting a website to advocate for a ban on the practice.
Until seclusion is prohibited by the Utah State Board of Education in all charter schools and public schools in Utah, I won't be happy.
Seclusion is a behavioral intervention used to isolate students from their peers, sometimes confining them in a small padded room like this one. Data shows most students put in seclusion have disabilities and are in elementary schools. In Utah, the practice is allowed only when a child poses an imminent safety risk to themselves or others.
Where it does happen, it's not for small reasons.
Teachers like Senator Kathleen Reeby have told us previously that seclusion can be necessary to protect students and staff, especially as behavior problems have worsened since the pandemic.
I have autism and a little bit of ADHD.
But the Fox 13 Investigates team has found seclusion is sometimes misused.
Sometimes you gotta understand, sometimes it has to be done, but like sometimes, most of the time it happened there, it was unnecessary or overdone.
Last month, we told you how records showed 15-year-old Cody Brighter was put in seclusionary timeout in elementary school for behaviors that didn't pose a serious safety risk, such as spraying hand sanitizer and refusing to sit at his desk.
And seeing what has happened is not encouraged my faith in the system. In matter of fact, it's done just the opposite.
So the Merrills were thrilled when they read the text of a bill to end seclusion in Utah schools.
I thought, wow.
I was completely overjoyed. I could not believe that the senator had sponsored this bill and was taking it moving forward with it.
This is the first substitute of SB 170, which prohibits the use of seclusion in schools. But the bill's second substitute, which passed through the Senate, it removed that language. Instead, this bill would put into state code many of the existing rules the Utah State Board of Education already has around seclusion.
We work with multiple stakeholders on this to encompass a lot of what's already in practice, but we want to make sure everybody's on the same page of what's expected. We are hoping that this become more isolated situations of using this type of interventions, but we know in some instances it's needed.
The bill does strengthen some language around seclusion, specifying that it can't be used for coercion, retaliation, or humiliation, or due to inadequate staffing, or for the staff member's convenience. It also requires additional record keeping, including around what interventions were attempted before an educator turned to seclusion.
I don't believe it goes far enough.
The Merrills say they're disappointed the bill no longer bans seclusion, but they think additional measures could be added to prevent misuse, such as requiring video monitoring in special education classrooms to show a student's behavior leading up to seclusion.
If they had a camera, they could say, this kid was doing this, and I needed to do that, and the camera would show it. Then there would be no problem.
I mean, obviously there's been a lot of reporting, some of what you've done around this, and there have been a lot of problems with seclusion.
We spoke with Nate Krippis, an attorney at the Disability Law Center, when the bill still banned seclusion. The center has been among the proponents of a ban and shares fears seclusion is not always used appropriately.
Certainly we've seen cases where it has been overutilized to the detriment of students with disabilities, and so I think we're concerned with its practice, even with the parameters, because they are not always, I think, followed.
At the time we spoke with him, Krippis was hopeful lawmakers would end seclusion to send a positive message to the disability community. But he also seemed prepared for the bill to go another way.
I think we hear a lot about the state wanting to support kids and adults with disabilities. I think ultimately, in practice, that isn't always what we see in a lot of the decisions policymakers make.
At the state capitol, Taylor Stevens, Fox 13 News, Utah.